Hey guys, welcome to another Therapy Thursday. My name is Sierra Hillsman, and I am a licensed professional counselor and the founder of Legacy Speaks. Tonight, we're going to dive into a dope conversation about men's mental health with the Alex Dorsey, and I'm super excited to have this conversation. And I just
Mhm.
want to dive in really quickly, let the people know who you are and how they can find you and a little bit about your practice.
Okay. So my name is Alexander Dorsey. I'm a licensed professional clinical counselor out in Inglewood, California. Been practicing for the last 8 years. I work for a community clinic, working with clients on a variety of different issues, children from as young as 5 years old, to adults that are 21. And then in my private practice, Mending Minds Professional Clinical Counseling, I work exclusively with Black men and adolescents, all age ranges, typically to address depression, anxiety, trauma, and other life concerns that come up.
Yes, absolutely love it. Speaking of just men in general, I think oftentimes we try to figure out how to help this specific population. I currently work in the substance abuse space where 90% of my clients are men who are either matriculating out of jails and prison systems as well as homelessness. And I just absolutely love working with men because I get to see the layers peel back and it's just a whole journey. And so, can you please tell me, as a male clinician, how is it, being able to help other men unpack their traumas and just pains, or even addressing their mental health concerns?
It's great. Um, it's really hard work, but like what you said, you begin to see them peel back a number of different layers that they have, um, really addressing a lot of the stereotypes or different beliefs that hold them back from so much emotional growth over time. And it's fantastic. So I love to do it. Seeing them get that aha moment or that light bulb to go off over their head is, I mean, it's the world. So it's fantastic.
Absolutely. That aha moment is super priceless. But understandably, it takes a while before we can even get to the aha moment, right? So
Right.
challenging those preconceptions about like vulnerability and being able to open up. I even had a client tell me, like, Miss Sierra, I don't believe in crying in front of women. And it was like he's literally fighting back the tears and whatnot. And so how do you help challenge that stigma or that distorted way of thinking in relation to vulnerability, or how do you help them redefine what vulnerability even looks like?
One of the first things is really just to create that safe space where you can have that conversation. A lot of times, men are just constantly on guard in this world for various reasons, many valid and many made up reasons, right? So when they come into session, it's really just to create the space where they can let that guard down. There's a lot of vulnerability in them actually saying, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable, crying in front of women." That leads to the ability or the option to peel back those different layers. So it's awesome to do that first, really then to introduce emotional language into their vocabulary. A lot of my clients are like, "Oh, I'm good, I'm straight, I'm fine," and I'm like, dude, that tells me nothing at all. Right? Let's practice saying the words angry, irritable, sad, scared, and things of that nature. And then we just string them along until they get to that point where they can be more vulnerable, and discuss some more of these complex concerns or, distorted thoughts that they have.
Yes, absolutely. Expanding on that vocabulary, that is so important. Very important. Like the feeling words, or even like the feelings wheel, I think that's the best tool ever. I know that's like super simple, but it
Mhm.
helps the people be able to identify like what they're feeling in the moment, or even the feelings that are connected to other feelings as well. So I
Right,
definitely
right.
agree. Yeah. I love having these chats. It's just like other clinicians are like, yes, that is so true. Oh my goodness. Yes.
I mean, a lot of the things that we do, like you said, are so basic, so elementary, things that we've done. Some of us did it in elementary school, but there is like that gap where we're socialized to be a certain way And we have to
Hmm.
connect with what we learned about years ago, decades ago, because it makes life easier when we just accept that we're humans. We have emotions. If you're the strongest dude, out there, or if you're the skinniest guy, you're going to have the same emotions, right? However you define yourself, that's not going to stop you from feeling sad. It's not going to stop you from feeling angry or whatever it's there. Just allow yourself to feel, and it helps so much with whatever process you're going through.
Yes, definitely. So, like, even the freedom to be, I think a huge part of it is allowing yourself the space for that increased insight and the increased self-awareness. I think even with men, because of the societal pressures of being the provider or being the macho man or being the individual that has to be hard and not soft, so to speak, it's
Hmm.
difficult for them to like get rid of those compartmentalizations. And so, how do you create some level of unification within the self? Because there are just so many different dynamics that we as people of color are trying to navigate.
Hmm. One of the things is to really talk about there's a spectrum of what it means to be a man. We don't come, pre-created. We have the ability to customize the type of man that we want to be, and allowing them to say, in this situation, this is how I feel or want to react. In this situation, it's different. So really just breaking it down to say, like, why do I need to be like, I don't know, Ghost from Power? Like, first off, Ghost is a very problematic character in general. You don't
Right.
have to live your life like that, right? Even Jay-Z told us, Hove did that. So hopefully you wouldn't have to go through that. All these sorts of things, it's like, dude, create yourself, define who you are instead of trying to be like someone else.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's like even then, right, creating like this archetype and then allowing yourself to be the person that you were, like you mentioned, that you were born to be. And then
Hmm.
obviously over time you'll change, you'll grow, you'll evolve, but never losing that sense of self, that sense of identity. And so,
Right,
like,
right.
even when we're talking about like growing and evolving, oftentimes when we grow and we evolve, we start to have to reevaluate our social circles, right?
Hmm.
And trying to figure out like how do I build stronger connections and how do I create space to be vulnerable with my brothers or with those friends that I went to college with. And so, how can men of color start having those types of conversations together about mental health and wellness?
So I love that you bring this up because it's, when we talked about change earlier, one of the things that I'm grateful for is that I have a friend who created such a space. And I love the way in which he did it, where a lot of times is these are my frat brothers. So a lot of times we're drinking, talking, joking, everything in between. And so what we did is we found out, or we, discussed that a lot of the time the conversation is sort of worthless. It's not creating any growth within us. So what we did is create a space where every other week we go to somebody's house. There's some drink, there's some food, but there's an agenda. There's a topic that night, two questions, nothing super deep, and we just go in a circle. We share what happens with us. We answer the two questions, and then we chill. Like, it's not a huge commitment for us. We have the ability to opt out of answering questions or even participating, but it's highly encouraged, and we're really supportive. We bounce questions off of each other after different responses. So that's a way to do it, and there are ground rules set. It's actually almost like teetering on the edge of group therapy, right? But the way in which it's structured, it does not create that stigma of this is therapy, So it's the same thing we would do on a regular basis, but this time it has an agenda.
Definitely. And I'm glad that you brought that up. For those who don't know the difference between self-help groups and group therapy. So with group therapy, you have like one or two clinicians, and they're literally like creating the bridges in between all of the members of the group. Usually groups don't go over 11 to 12 people. Hopefully, if you're in the agency setting, I know that there's been groups with 20 people in it. But on the flip side, self-help groups are like just open forum, open dialogue, and there's no real agenda. Exactly what Alexander was saying. You just have the opportunity to talk and piggyback off of one another. There's no real rules. You can set the rules if need be, but overall, it's just open forum and finding ways to connect and support one another without the structure of group therapy or the structure of the clinician at hand.
Yeah. And it's, I'm the only therapist in the group. Uh-huh.
Oh,
And
go ahead.
so, yeah, no, I was just saying, I'm the only therapist in the group. But my boy who organizes it, I mean, he's an engineer. So he's
Mhm.
like, he doesn't even have a relation to the field of psychology, and he's able to pull this off. And I think a lot of people just need to know, like, you can create your own space. You don't need a specialty. You don't need to know everything. A lot of times he'll bring up questions for things that he's dealing with on his own, and he's just getting our opinion on it. So it's accessible and it's an option for anybody that really wants to try.
Definitely. And speaking of questions, for those of you who are on the live, please make sure that you're dropping your questions. Ask whatever questions that you may have. That's the whole purpose of Therapy Thursday. Disclaimer, this is not an opportunity for you to catch a therapist or anything like that. This is not us building therapeutic rapport, just putting it out there. However, this is for you to get whatever questions that you have. And that way we can normalize the conversation in relation to mental health. That's really what it is. And so I'm speaking about like normalizing the conversation, especially when it comes to depression and anxiety. What I find is like a lot of people have like these generalized ideas about depression. Understandably, with depression, it's the struggling to complete your activities of daily living, your loss of enjoyment or a loss of sense of fulfillment in the things that you typically enjoy. But what I also noticed too is it's like people think that depression is simply laying in bed, not wanting to get up and things of that nature. And they forget about the side of the irritability and the mood swings and whatnot. And sometimes what I find for those who are not multiculturally competent, individuals who deal with those who are dealing with irritability or mood swings, they might just consider the person to be an angry black man or angry black woman. And so
Hmm.
how do you help individuals work through identifying what depression looks like in men in color and pointing men of color in the right direction for like specific resources that are multiculturally competent?
Yeah. So just like you said, depression is it's on a huge spectrum. There's the people that are laying in bed all day, and they're the people that are working three jobs, engaged in all these projects, and on the surface they look great, but once they have downtime, they break down, you know.
Talk about
And
it.
you know, and some of us, because there is that stigma of what depression or very specific observation of what they believe depression looks like, we're so numb to what other people are going through, and we're missing. And so when people are like, "Oh, I never knew," yeah, because you were so straight-minded about what's happening, it wasn't even in your focus.
Right.
So, with a lot of black men, um, what I see is a lot of irritability. I'll see a lot of avoidance, a lot of frustration, some lashing out. And since we know that it's on a spectrum, we'll go ahead and look at all of the symptoms, and then we'll kind of make it culturally competent because we know the DSM-5, it wasn't made for us.
Right. Exactly.
So we'll look at it to really show them like, hey, what you're going through could be a symptom or behavior of depression, and go from there. Um, One thing in terms of linking them with different resources, I've always worked in a Black and Latino community throughout my whole career. So I know of a number of different resources within Los Angeles to help Black men out. Make a couple calls, send them the letters, or give them the recommendations, and send them over there because I'm confident they'll get the support that they need. Also, I have a group of Black male therapists within LA that I can talk to and bounce ideas off of. And that's been super helpful with helping out my clientele.
Good. That's phenomenal. I absolutely love it. That was going to be my next question. How do you take care of yourself as a male of color, especially as a male of color who's a clinician?
Um, what I've been learning, number one, is to say no. Um, I always make the joke, which is pretty bad, that there are only 5 Black male therapists, because it's not that many of us. So when you meet us, say hi, take our number, because you don't know when you're going to meet another one.
Right. Yeah.
So I can't be everyone's Superman, and willing to acknowledge that and take that to heart. So saying no, knowing my limits, knowing when I need to take a break so that I can make sure that I'm 100% there for my clients all the time. Another one, I'm an avid reader. I try to read at least one book a month, try to read something by a Black author. I also play video games. I run. I'm married. I got my dog. So I really have some good boundaries that help me kind of stay level headed.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And even when you were talking about the scenario where you could be high functioning and still be dealing with some type of like mental health concern, I think oftentimes even when we're talking about the desire to be everything for everybody, that can be a huge stressor. I know like with our generation as millennials, we are wanting to hit the ground running. We're wanting to leave our mark. We're wanting to be in spaces that appreciate us, and we're wanting to create things that are going to be lasting and build legacy and all of that stuff. But that can
Hmm.
create a lot of pressure. That can create some level of anxiety. That can really like get to us. And then like even with like the imposter syndrome, or maybe even feeling inadequate, or maybe feeling like you're not doing as great as your friends that you see on social media, that can
Hmm.
all be a lot. And so, how do you help Black men navigate that? And even when we're talking about finding partners and being like the best partner ever, like that's a whole dynamic within itself.
Right. And we used to talk about it in graduate school. We were having like a quarter life crisis. We were trying to do so much in a short amount of time. We were burning ourselves out. Like we're trying to be, and not say that it's bad, right? But we're trying to be CEOs and directors and all these other things. And older generations, it took them decades or so to get there. And we're trying to do that immediately, you know? So what we're doing is we're going 100 miles an hour, 24/7. And at some point, the wheels are going to fall off. And no, we can't do that. We need longevity. If we're gone, who is going to raise up the next generation, right? And how do we balance achieving and being here for the next generation? So that's a big thing. What we need to do is take our time. And I think this is like another Jay-Z, or no, was this a Rick Ross thing I saw the other day? He was saying he doesn't want to waste time, right?
Yes. He
If
said
it's
it
going
doesn't
to,
look, it's gonna take him forever. It doesn't matter. We're gonna do it
right,
right. I was like, oh,
exactly,
yes.
exactly. So, if it takes 10 years, it's going to take 10 years. Don't rush the process. Make sure your steps are sure, and then call it a day. But, a lot of times we need that instant gratification. We downplay, like you said, with imposter syndrome, where we are in our space, if we belong there, and we need these accolades to show that we made it, that we belong and all that other stuff. And it's like, dude, you're 26 working with some tech startup that's like doing millions or billions in money. That's enough. And it's okay. Like, just chill.
Mm.
Um, so working with a lot of these Black men to discuss some of these negative thoughts, these cognitive distortions that they're having, and really put things in like a perspective that takes off the pressure, and working with them to exercise that on a regular basis. I tell all my clients, mental work is just as hard as some of this physical work. If everybody had abs, or if it was easy to get abs, everyone will have it. If it was easy to change your thoughts, everybody would be happy all the time. But no, it takes work. And
Yes,
that's
I
what our
agree.
focus is.
Absolutely love it. It's learning to pace yourself. And it's crazy because I was talking to a client about this. I was just like, I need you to create some level of like recovery pace. Like especially
Right.
when we're talking about challenging like years of substance use and years of like maladaptive thinking or maladaptive coping. You've been doing this 10, 20, 30 years and
Mhm.
expecting 6 months of treatment to just change your life and understand that, like, yes, things can change, but it's a process. It's something that you have to constantly work at. Going along with the workout synonym.
Analogy.
Yeah, now,
Yeah.
thank you, child, thank you. Oh, see, that's why you the homie, because you got me, okay? Thank you. Anyway, the workout analogy, it's a muscle. You got to continue to use it. You got to continue to work it out. So there was a question somebody had. Dennis says, what questions are on the agenda when you do your group meetup? So for anybody who is interested in creating like some type of self-help group or like just a group for the homies, what are some ideal questions that they can like kind of throw out there?
You know what? I honestly can't think of the specific questions. A lot of our conversations, um, I can't even, it was a funny title. It was like friends, families, and freaks. Today we're going to have a conversation about relationships, right? So I can't remember what the specific
No.
question was, but what we did is we analyzed how we made friends, how we made connections throughout life, whether it was with family, friends, or our romantic partners. Um, so, things like that, we would just give it like funny titles. So, just get the homies thinking throughout the day. And we would also send out the topics a day or two before so that you would have time to think of what you wanted to talk about or bring up and add to the group. So I'm sorry, I can't think of the actual questions.
Well, that's a really great way to approach it, though. So even if you don't have any questions, probably if you happen to be the group leader, probably think about a topic on that Monday or maybe a couple of days before the actual event. Send out the topic 2 days in advance. Probably send out a reminder because reminders help people to come on
Right.
time. And then after that, just have a free for all. So that's a good structure. Cool beans.
Right.
All right. Alexander, do you have any words of wisdom for somebody who's looking to start, grow, or strengthen their mental health journey?
Um, One of my go-to that I tell everybody is to stay curious. Uh, Curiosity is a good thing. It helps to break down these perceived notions that we have about ourselves, others, events, or things that are going on around us. Curiosity allows us to dig deeper into these relationships and our understanding. And when we do that, we become more knowledgeable. And with that knowledge, we can change our behaviors and do better in life. So always stay curious, never just be still, and keep going deeper.
Love it. And with that, we will bring it to the close. And ladies and gentlemen, Alexander, please let the people know where they can find you and let them know about any upcoming projects or any products or services that you provide.
Okay. You can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Alex Dorsey, LPCC. I also have a website, alexdorseyLPCC.com, that you can reach me at. In terms of services, I'm open for new clients at this moment. I've been a little slow on social media. This pandemic has affected everybody in a different way, and mine was to back away from social media a little bit, but I am here, I am active. I should be posting new content within the next month, so just keep a lookout for that.
Awesome sauce, y'all. Thank you so much, Alex. I greatly appreciate your time and your words of wisdom. It's always good to chat with you.
Oh, I thank you for having me here, and uh, I appreciate it. Also, I still have your sweater. I rock that regularly.
Oh, yay!
So thank you for that again.
No problem. Oh, that just warms my heart. I really appreciate it.
All right.
All right, Alex. Thank y'all. Once again, I'm Sierra. Y'all, please make sure that you're tapping into the podcast. This will be on YouTube and the Legacy Speaks podcast so that you can be able to view it. It'll also be readily available on IGTV. And speaking of upcoming events and whatnot, Mental Wellness for the Culture Conference is coming up on July the 24th. So please make sure that you are registering. It is absolutely free. Last year it was 2 days. This year it's only going to be 1 day, y'all, because last year was crazy. It was litty in the city, okay? But make sure that y'all register, and y'all can definitely stay connected via Legacy SBKS on everything. Thank y'all.